Mike, we just can't get this weather thing right, man. I mean, we asked for warmer weather the last 2 weeks. We finally have the warmer weather that we asked for, and the field is soaked behind it.
You forgot to include no rain in the contract. I
did forget about that, but you let me forget.
No. I don't. No, I didn't. It was totally up to you. It was your decision all the way.
He's Mike Maahs, play-by-play voice of the Fort Wayne TinCaps. My name is Peter Hood. We are not professional meteorologists, contrary to popular belief, but he is a baseball expert, and that is why he is here. And we will talk about TinCaps baseball as we do every week. And Mike, this is the first week that we've kind of had some not so great stuff to talk about with this team as far as the wins and the losses. When we spoke this time a week ago, they had won 4 straight over the Dayton Dragons. Since then, they've gone on the road for a 6-game road trip against the Bowling Green Hot Rods and those same Dayton Dragons. They lost both series 2 out of 3. So I guess as you sat back and watched from the comforts of your own home the last week, I guess what's been your takeaway from the last few games for the Fort Wayne TinCaps?
Well, the real thing is that teams play differently at home than they do on the road. And the term that I've heard most often is comfort level. When you're at home, you know what your schedule is. You sleep in your own bed. You eat the normal place you eat food at. You don't have to get up early in the morning. You don't have to ride on a bus for several hours. You know what time you come out to the ballpark to get ready for a game. When you're on the road, that's exactly what you don't do. You know, the team went to Bowling Green last week. That's a 6.5-hour bus ride from Fort Wayne down to BG. And they played the 3 games, and then they had to make a 4-hour bus ride back to Dayton and to play 3 games, and then another 2.5-plus-hour bus ride home. So you're traveling, you're staying in motels, you're going out to eat more often than having some somewhat home-cooked food. But there is a difference, and somehow somebody's got to find out what the cure is, because the old adage is if you play 500 ball on the road and you win at home, more often than not, you may be playing postseason baseball. Well, the TinCaps are 5-1 here at Parkview Field this year, but they're only 3-5 on the road.
Yeah, you mentioned 3-5 on the road, and obviously way too early to overreact to that. You don't want to overanalyze this early into a season, but in your experience, you've covered minor league baseball here for a long time, and you've seen a lot of young players come through here. In your experience, how long do you think it takes a young team to get acclimated? Because obviously it's for a lot of these guys, their first full professional season of baseball. How long does it take them to get acclimated to those road trips and getting used to playing on road?
For some of the players, it may take almost the first half of the season. We've talked about this is the 3rd year in a row now, Peter. We mentioned on previous get-togethers, the TinCaps have the youngest team age-wise in the Midwest League, 3rd year in a row. And they've also had the youngest team in all of full-season minor league baseball the last couple of years at the start of the year. The average age this year is up to 20 years, 9 teenagers. If you look at the makeup of the roster, almost a majority of the players here in Fort Wayne come from warm weather climates, Mexico, Venezuela, Puerto Rico, and other places. Here in the Midwest, not as warm as they're accustomed to. And we saw what happened the last couple of years when you get off to just a bad start and you're in last place in the division over halfway into the first half or a quarter of the way into the season. But once the weather gets warmer, they feel more comfortable because that's the environment and the climate that they're used to playing in. So from a weather standpoint, until it gets warm, they may struggle. From an experience standpoint, again, a lot of teenagers, a lot of youngsters with an average team age of 20 per player, 20 years old. It might be the first time or second time that they've done any extensive traveling. And again, at this level of minor league baseball, you don't travel by air, you travel by bus. And it could range from a hour and 45-minute bus ride over to South Bend up to, depending on Chicago traffic, 7.5 hours to Appleton, Wisconsin, 7.5 to 8 hours to Cedar Rapids, Iowa. So they got to learn exactly what minor league baseball is about. It's not what they've been accustomed to.
Yeah, and if you've ever spent more than a few hours on a bus at one time, it's not always the most pleasant experience. So, you know, again, 2-4 on the road trip, but there are still plenty of positive things to talk about. One guy that I'd like to highlight, Mike, who's not hitting, not pitching, not fielding, but has still had a major impact on this team and this franchise for the last several years, Anthony Contreras. Recently made a little bit of history here with the Tin Caps, becoming just the third manager in franchise history to reach the 200-win total. He now sits, I believe, less than 30 wins away from becoming the franchise's all-time leader in wins as a manager. And Mike, I know you get to sit down and chat with Anthony Contreras regularly. I know that individual accolades as far as his win total probably aren't going to mean much to him because he's more interested in the development of the players than anything else. But that guy deserves an awful lot of credit for what he's done here the last several years. No?
What you will find, Peter, not just in baseball but in any sport, when you have had either a manager in baseball or a head coach in maybe football or basketball or softball or other sports who have been around the block, so to speak, and they know what to expect, when they accomplish some personal milestones, they don't think about them at the time. But I guarantee you 5, 10, 15 years from now, AC will stop back and think of what his time here in Fort Wayne has been like. And again, as you say, the third manager in franchise history to hit the 200-win mark. He'll be the winningest manager before the year is over, surpassing both Doug DeCenzo and Randy Reddy. But again, AC's also a special person, and we've talked about this before. He was a player. He was an infielder with the then Fort Wayne Wizards in 2008. So that's another historical piece of information. The only person to be a player and a manager for this organization. And I'd like to see AC get a shot sometime down the road. Again, this is 4 years here in Fort Wayne. At some point, he would like to move up in the organization, whether it's the High A Lake Elsinore, or Double A Amarillo, or Triple A El Paso, or maybe the big club as well in San Diego. But all you can do is give it your best shot, one day at a time, and see where the cards fall.
And hopefully AC can rack up a few more wins this week. Tin Caps will wrap up a series against West Michigan on Saturday. And then, Mike, where do they go from there?
Sunday is a league-wide off day in the Midwest League for Easter Sunday.
Happy Easter.
And then Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday of next week, weather permitting, Bowling Green will come to town. A night game on Monday night, day games on Tuesday and Wednesday. A 12:05 first pitch next Tuesday and a 11:05 first pitch next Wednesday. 2 more editions of Breakfast on Ewing Street, as I like to call them. And then a 4-game series 92 miles away in South Bend at Four Winds Field, site of this year's Midwest League All-Star Game, but a chance to take on your arch rival in the South Bend Cubs.
I believe Pitbull is performing at the Midwest League All-Star Game this year. Are you a Pitbull fan?
No. I'm just looking forward to going, saying hi to a lot of people, and hopefully having a fun broadcast.
By the way, before we go,
yes,
I should put my mic up when I say that. Before we go, rocking the Sunday red in honor of Tiger Woods here this evening. I know you're a golf fan.
Yes.
Your reaction to the return of Mr. Tiger?
Nothing short of phenomenal. When you think, throw out the off-course stuff. Look at all the injuries he's had and the back surgeries he's had. I still remember back in 2008, that infamous U.S. Open at Pebble Beach, Rocco Mediate, and seeing Tiger wince hitting shots because he was playing golf on one leg and yet able to win the title. And I know the fans loved what they saw, especially Sunday at Augusta. And I'll be honest, I'm a Phil Mickelson fan and a Jordan Spieth fan, not as much as a Tiger fan, because sometimes people get tired of the same guy winning all the time. But in this case, to come back from what he's had to endure physically and somewhat mentally, to prove to everyone else that he can still do it in a given 4 days on golf's greatest stage was tremendous, and hats off to him.
See, folks, we bring you much more than just baseball here on TinChattin. We've covered weather, we've covered Pitbull, and Mike's not a big Pitbull fan, and we've covered golf. So I mean, we bring it all to you here.
That's TinChattin for you.
And he's Mike Maahs, and I'm Peter Hood, and that'll do it for this week's edition of TinChattin. Of course, we'll have much more for you next week. Until then, stick around. We got much more coming up in the locker room right after this break.